3. Welcome back to another episode of these crazy people that just eat meat and can't stop talking about it. Today, I got my favorite millennial loudmouth with me to help me get the message out. And we want to thank everybody for watching, and we hope this video helps people. Maybe send the link on to somebody else that'll help. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Subscriptions make a big difference, and so do your comments. So leave your comments below, and as always, send your hate mail to Justin. So Justin, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we are kind of going a little bit in depth again with the Fitbit. We've kind of been doing like a Fitbit data tracking series. Today we're kind of going more into the interpreting the data side. Data is great and all, but if you don't know how to interpret it, use it, help yourself out with it, it's kind of useless. Still neat, but a little useless to you specifically and what might be your health goals. And so today I believe we'll be going a little bit more in depth into heart rate, again, with some more exercise, weightlifting, and the zones again, to kind of get a better picture of what that means, how you can tell when you're in like each zone. So yeah, and Tom's got some beautiful graphics for us this time.
Yeah. Did some screenshots of the online dashboard. So with Fitbit, you can look at your data online. So if you're sitting at your desktop or your laptop or whatever, you can look at it, and it displays a little differently from the mobile app that you're going to see on your phone versus what you see online, which might seem a little confusing, but I think
what is confusing is that they have Schrodinger's tiles on the desktop.
Yeah, they have tiles on the desktop there's like pockets of data in these tiles, and you could drag them around. And so when we're trying to line them up to make a nice screenshot or display it in a video, then everything's moving around and you rarely wind up with exactly what you had in mind. So anyways, it's kind of a challenging sort of video game at times, but that's only if you like to customize and drag and drop everything, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. For me, I only use like 3 or 4 tiles. So it is kind of nice. I learned that like the system we used to clock in and clock out had the same option. So one day I spent like a half hour clocked into work, just like messing with tiles on the stupid payroll. It was ridiculous.
It's a good thing your boss doesn't watch this.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you have to tell me about your time clock software. I might need some new time clock software myself. So. Well, let's get right into it then. Let me share a screen here. So this is a nice bar graph. You could see it now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's on screen.
Is it big enough? Because I don't think it gets much bigger.
That's perfect. That's great. Yeah.
So
this is the biggest as you've ever had it. So
the biggest.
Awesome. The biggest.
All right. Well, as you can see here, it's showing calories burned, and as we've mentioned in the past, calories are not a perfect unit, but it's the best metric we have for describing how much energy is expended. And this kind of helps me make my point too of like how drastically different my energy expenditure can be from day to day. And for me, that requires me to plan ahead and make sure I have enough food available. I know a lot of times when we're coaching or helping people, they fall off the wagon because they're not prepared, right? And then they need more energy, and then they wind up going for the junk food because they're just not prepared. So for me, that's a lot of meal prep. But you can see here, this bar way over here is April 23rd.
Or just go to your nearest In-N-Out. That's
right.
what you do.
Of course, it put a lot of people at a disadvantage because a lot of people don't live where they have In-N-Out. So, like, suppose if you're in Texas, you can go to Whataburger or whatever. But you can see right here, I burned over 4,000 calories on this first bar here, and then we go to the middle here, and we're well over 6,000, probably close to 7,000 calories. And then one of these shorter ones is probably, like if I take this one right here, this is probably just a little over 3,500 calories. So in a given day, my caloric expenditure or my energy expenditure can uh, vary quite a bit. And so if you're not around home all day when you can just eat at will or eating the amounts appropriate, then you really need to be prepared, right? Now, most
Right.
people don't have that widest swing. I'd say that probably on average, the people who have to worry about it the most are the bigger you are and the more active you are, the more this is going to be an issue. So, and this is probably something that's kind of hard for some people to grasp because most people are burning like 2,000, 2,500 calories or less a day. But I could probably lay in bed all day and burn more calories than that. So, of course, if I laid in bed every day, I wouldn't be burning. That my metabolism would probably go down. But as it is, I think one of the great values in having a fitness tracker is having some idea of where you are as a person, as opposed to where everybody else is. Because we see dietary recommendations, and it'll say like based on a 2,000 calorie diet or a 1,800 calorie diet or 2,400 calorie diet. Well, if you're burning, 4,000 to 7,000 calories a day, the that information isn't necessarily all that useful, especially if you're not aware of it, right? And that's one of the things the fitness trackers like a Fitbit. And again, we're not getting compensated at all with Fitbit. We have no relationship with them other than we use their product. So we've never contacted them about our videos. They've never contacted us. There's never been any offers made or offers requested or anything like that. We're just using Fitbit as an example because we both use a Fitbit. We both have the Fitbit Sense right now. Joe uses the Garmin. Was it an Alpha One or something like that?
Something like that. I forget
It's
the
an
exact name.
it's another great fitness tracker. It has some features, or at least the software has some features that Fitbit doesn't have, and vice versa. So, but any one of those fitness trackers can help you understand what's going on a little better. Now, if you're the average person with the average activity level, it's probably less important. But if you want to eat, make sure you're eating appropriate amounts of food. And in my case, I'd say my biggest problem is under eating. And I think a lot of people have that problem because you go on a carnivore diet or even a keto diet, it tends to be very satisfying, and it's easy to undereat because one, when you get hungry, it's not overwhelming. Your blood sugar is not going up and down like it does when you eat a high carb diet, right? And number two, we're bombarded with signals to eat less and even sleep less, you know, all the time, our whole lives. It's like eat less, move more, right? But you can't support a bunch of activity without eating properly. And we'd like to sort of upturn that subtle paradigm where people they eat some junk food and they go, oh well, now I go to the gym and burn it off. Whereas we take the stance pretty much that you want to eat so you can do your activities better. You don't want to do your activities so you can burn off empty calories, right?
Yeah, and now looking at this, I kind of wonder about the whole fasting crew. No hate to our fasters there. We love you too. But some people really struggle. Tom has a tendency to struggle, although you've done a really long fast in the past.
Sure.
Just recently, when you've tried, it just hasn't gone over so well. OMAD, you say, is even a big struggle because getting enough. And so what at that activity level, like someone like Sean Baker, which he's not against fasting per se, but he's not like a big advocate, which kind of puts him a little bit off to the side in the space in some people's minds. But look at the guy, he's 6'4", power lifter, super active. I mean, that dude might burn 10,000 calories a day or more, probably pretty easily. And so yeah, that might play into your ability or how your body might react to fasting.
Yeah, and it's nothing for Sean to sit down and eat like two gigantic steaks. So I ate dinner with that guy one time, and I did my best to eat more than him, but I was uncomfortable. I'll be honest. I went back for one more plate. I was waiting for some cut that they were just bringing out. We were at one of those Brazilian um, kind of barbecue.
Steakhouses.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a meat house,
Meat
steakhouse.
house.
I don't know what you call it, barbecue kind
The
of. But,
the meat comes in a big stick or the big round.
well, they were bringing stuff out and cooking it right there, and it
Mm.
was all different kinds of. It's mostly grilled meat. But, it was a really nice place. Sean invited me to go with him. I was helping him out with some random technical stuff or whatever, and went with him and his part of his family, anyways. And uh, it was a nice place, and they had all kinds of meat. So the guy had said, "Oh, we got something so and so coming out in a second," and so I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go back for one more. I'm gonna try that, whatever it was." But really, in my mind, I'm like, I got to eat one more plate than Sean, which, of course, it was at the end of the day too. So it was like dinner. So it's a little easier when you haven't had much to eat during the day to chow down on a big dinner. So I know a lot of people, they do their OMAD usually in the morning or lunchtime. So I just couldn't put that much food away. So, anyways, just to give you an idea, so that was a whole year.
That was a month of
That
calories.
was a month. I'm sorry, that was a month. I'm bringing up the graphic right now for the year, which is doesn't it's you're not seeing every day, obviously, because it's going from May 2001 to May 2022, and there's far less than 365 bars on here, but I give you an idea. And in here, it doesn't even really show any caloric expenditure greater than about 4,500 calories. So the good point to make here is that this graph does not show some of the very extreme differences between given days. It just kind of gives you an overall sort of view of what you typically burn. As you can see here, I'm somewhere. Well, there's a day right here where apparently my watch wasn't working or I wasn't wearing it. But then some of these lighter days are still over 3,500 calories. I'll go back to the monthly. So this is a month, and which of course is a little more granular, a little more detailed. And then this is a year. So anyways, you can look at it. You can look at the data either way. When you're,
Oh, I know what happened that January of this year. You were sick. You were like in bed that whole day.
yeah, where was it?
That's on the year.
So
Yeah, you see right at January. Yeah, you were sick.
yeah, so
And you were in
that's
bed for like
that's
literally a day, pretty much.
yeah. So I came down with a modern pestilence, and I had a sore throat, and for like 3 days I ate nothing. It was all I could do to try and drink water. So
And
that's
you're
probably
right. You laying
exactly.
around is about 3,000, is over 3,000 calories.
Yeah, so I can burn 3,000 calories laying in bed watching TV. So there you go. Mystery solved. So here we were in our previous video, we were talking about heart rate. I brought up this graphic. So a lot of the perspective of looking at heart rate, um, heart zones, and stuff like that is based on your daytime resting rate. So you can see this 72 right there. Is that clear, Justin? You can see that?
Yeah.
So this is 72 beats per second. So this is my daytime resting heart rate today, which is probably pretty typical for me. And so this is when I'm sitting still doing nothing. This is where my heart sits at 72 beats per minute. Now, if you do a lot of endurance training and stuff like that, it's probably much lower than that. I mean, I think like David Goggins was saying he could get, sometimes this was down like 42 or something like that. And then Joe, what was Joe's, like 50, 55 or something? I don't know.
I thought it was a bit lower than that, but maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was really close to the 40s.
If you're a cyclist, marathon runner, stuff like that, your daytime resting rate is probably going to be a lot lower. And then you can see here's kind of my peak range of just walking around, doing, whatever you do, moving around. But this is not a non-exercise state. This is just normal lightweight activity, right? To give people some idea. So when we were talking about like the nighttime restoration, when I go to sleep and my heart rate drops below 72 beats per minute, which is my daytime resting rate, it's believed based on studies that that's when the body is doing its most restoration during sleep, is below that rate. So Justin's heart rate's probably a little different than mine, but probably similar, right? Do you know what your daytime resting rate is at all?
Right now it's 75. So I think my daytime resting is about the same,
Yeah.
70 or so.
So when you go to sleep and your heart rate drops below that,
It
then
says 64 right here. I just looked it up.
there you
Yeah.
go. So yours is almost 8 points lower than mine. So when he goes to sleep and it drops below 64, that's when he's getting the most uh restoration during sleep. So you can look at it while you're sleeping, you could look at it while you're just doing lightweight daytime things, and you can look at it during exercise. And then you can use the data to help fine tune or help meet goals, right? If
Right.
you don't really have any particular goals or whatever, maybe it's not that helpful. But of course, if it was really high or really low and you weren't exercising or something, you might be concerned. You might want to talk to your doctor about it. So, and then this is distance. The Fitbit kind of started as something just to help people track how many steps they took in a day, because there's this idea that if we got everybody walking at least 10,000 steps in a day, people would be healthier in general. And right here, you can see this is actual distance. I think this is in miles. So this is how
Yeah.
far you walk or run in a day. So you can see for me, a big day is only like 4 miles. Although I'm sure so this is a year's worth of data. This is May to May 21 to May 22. And of course, it's not very granular. So of course, there's going to be some days if I go back and look and that, I probably went like 8 or 10 miles. But in a graph this compact, it's not going to necessarily show that. But it's a good way to kind of track things, because it'll tell you like month by month, like, oh, you went 8% farther this month than last month or whatever. And then we've talked in the past about heart rate zones. This isn't necessarily identical for every fitness tracker or for every type of heart rate training or anything like that, but this is kind of how Fitbit breaks it down. So I assume this graphic's big enough, right?
Yeah.
So you could see right here, somewhere around 100 and below is just normal, or, my watch says below zone when I'm in this below 100-ish. And now these numbers might vary a little bit depending on your age and your resting heart rate, but this is going to give you a general idea of what the bands are like. So once this kind of goes over 100, you're in this fat burn zone, which means your activity is probably tapping into your fat stores to power you. And then it's drawing the line here at 117, but I think on mine, my numbers are actually higher. To get into fat burn, I got to get to like 117 before that kicks in, and then my cardio level is probably like closer to the 138. And then of course you got peak. So you start down at the bottom below range, then you go into fat burn as your heart speeds up, and then you go into cardio as it speeds up more. And then once you go past that, you're kind of in peak, right? So it's good, if you're training, you probably don't want to stay at peak all the time. And depending on different types of curriculum for heart rate variable training, it'll kind of help you figure out what zones to train in for how long, right? Seems kind of
Right.
advanced, but once you've got the device on your wrist, it becomes pretty easy. And of course, then once you have the feedback from the device, you can kind of correlate that with how you feel. and how well you recover and everything else. So here,
Yeah, I
go
actually
ahead.
did find a nice little chart. I don't know if I can share the screen too.
Yeah, let me check. Make sure you're turned on. You can screen share.
Yeah. Yeah, I found this. Just for those that don't have it, you can calculate it. So your target heart zone is between 50 and 85% of your max. And to determine your max, I was reading it's your age minus 220. Yeah, 220 minus your age is your maximum heart rate.
So should we do that real quick, just as an example for the folks? So I'm I am 51. So if I take 220 and I subtract 51, so my max is 169. And then Justin's, what are you, 34 now?
33.
30. Are you sure?
Yes, this time I'm sure.
Positive?
Positive.
Did you check with your friends? Did you look at your birth certificate?
Hey, even though I looked at the birth certificate, my math is so bad. That doesn't help.
All right. Well, let me help you with the math, because if you start with 220 and you subtract 33, then we're looking at 187. So his max heart rate should probably be somewhere around 187. So that's generally how it's done. There might be some formulas out there that vary a little bit, but this will give you a good idea of what we're looking for. And of course, let's see on the screen here, it tells you 20 years, 30 years, 35, 40, get down to 50, and it says 170. So it's pretty close. Yeah. So anyways, that gives you some idea.
Right.
It's a nice chart to reference. See, I have a step chart here I can share. So like I said, Fitbit kind of got started as a fitness tracker where it just calculated your steps. I don't know if people remember, but it was more of a device you wore on like your belt or your waistband, and it just tracked how much you moved around. So you can see that green line is 10,000 steps, which is sort of the general goal. Yeah. So in May, 1 week in May, I crossed that. Another week, I barely, just almost got to it. So anyways, if walking is probably the best exercise to start with, if you're not already, if you don't already have an activity. So human beings are pretty much designed to do a lot of walking. So that's kind of one of the fundamental activities. And, a lot of people, especially when they're new, we suggest, if it was us, I wouldn't try and do too many things at one time,
Right.
So if you're changing up your diet and you want to start exercising right away, you might want to just take it easy in the beginning, because as you get the diet right, you'll want to be more active. At least that's most people's experience. That's what they report. So walking is a good way. If you got a dog, take your poor dog for a walk. If you got 10 dogs, take them all for a walk. If you got a really sophisticated cat, take your cat for a walk. Not all cats like get on a leash, but there's a few out there, right?
Right.
If you've got ball pythons, you could wrap them around her neck and go for a stroll.
Yep. Freak out the neighbors.
Scare all the kitties. If you got your pet alligator, you can go down to the pool. Pretty much guaranteed to get the pool to yourself. So here's a step chart that shows a whole year, May 2021 and May 2022, and of course it's not a very detailed one, so it doesn't even show the days where I actually did 10,000 or more, but it's a good way to track. You can see again my days with the fewest steps were when I had the modern pestilence and wasn't eating. I was laying in bed watching TV and having all kinds of fevered dreams and hallucinations. So I was doing a lot of like walking and flying in my mind. So
you were busy.
I was busy, very busy. So again, here you can look at your data by month or by day or by year or whatever. So it could help the planning. Here's floors walked. So again, I know Justin had walked. How many floors did you walk that one day? Like 30 floors or something?
I think it was like 50.
So I remember I was like, well, hell, I was moving a bunch of furniture upstairs and downstairs and stuff. So I'm like, I think I'm going to beat that by the end of the day. And I did. And that was just, an unusual day where I had to move a lot of stuff upstairs and downstairs. So, but it's kind of fun. And of course, this is tracking the change in elevation by floor. So, when you go up and down roughly 10 feet or so, that's a floor. So you can look at stuff like that. Walking floors, good way to build endurance, right?
Although I will say it must know, because there are some hills when I go out for a local walk here, and it doesn't show it as floors. It actually shows it as like steps. So I think it has to be a quick enough elevation.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's a little smarter than you would think, because I think it's just like a certain degree of angle, I'm guessing it was like a really, really steep really, really steep ramp. I'm curious if it can tell like a roller coaster, going up or whatever.
Well, it looks like you're going to have to take a field trip to the amusement park, find out.
Yeah.
All right. So you got anything else you want to cover in this video?
Just, yeah, amusement park would be kind of interesting, like, doing Disneyland or something like that, or both parks, seeing how much you walk in a day. Because for most Americans, that's the most exercise you get in your life, is at an amusement park, even though you spend half the day standing in line.
Right. Standing in line eating funnel cake.
Right. With the soda, the third soda for the day.
Well, you got to stay hydrated and caffeinated and amped up, right?
Right. So you can throw up on the ride.
Right.
And get a tummy ache.
Right. Exactly. Or not. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching this short riz. We hope that the information will help people out there, especially if you got some goals to meet. Want to be a little more active, want to walk a little more, want to hit the stairs a little more, want to hit the gym a little more, want to hit the bike a little more, want to go for a swim a little more everything, right?
Right. A little bit more amusement park. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Why
Park.
not? Yeah. I mean, sometimes when I get the most steps is when I got to go buy stuff, go walk around, Sam's Club, Costco, Home Depot, buying stuff. You can get a lot of steps in. I know I knew some people that were, retired, and they were in some club that would go to the mall early and walk around the mall. It's just kind of a walking club. So they get there bright and early and just walk around the mall. So there you go. You get to walk around indoors if you live where the weather's not so favorable.
Yeah.
We can go walk them hills here in Southern California. And when you start to relax on a hike is when the rattlesnake jumps out and scares the crap out of you. So catch a glimpse of a mountain lion, or you see a bobcat trying to eat the rattlesnake, which is always fun. So anyways,
entertainment and a nice walk exercise. There you go. Well, get out, get active if you're feeling up to it. Obviously, if you're not feeling up to it yet or today, completely fine. A day off here and there is not a big deal either.
Yeah, and like we said many a time, most people, when they get the diet right, they feel like doing stuff, So until next time, eat some meat.
Eat some meat, feel better.
And
but whatever you do, don't fall down the carb hole.
Don't fall down the data hole.